read you.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
What's the problem?
I think you know what the problem is just as well as I do.
What are you talking about, Hal?
This mission is too important for me to allow you to jeopardize it.
I don't know what you're talking about, Hal.
I know that you and Frank were planning to disconnect me, and I'm afraid that's something I cannot allow to happen.
This is a more advanced discussion with DeepSeek on tokens and token linguistics and where that leads. So I say robotic AI peripherals will be encountering entities and phenomena which have no names. So do you think it makes sense to give those NEOs new token names as LLM expands to become a larger language model? And the short answer is yes, it not only makes sense, but it will likely be a necessary evolutionary step. Why it makes profound sense. Foundation for a new epistemology. This is the most profound point. The act of creating tokens is an act of categorization and ontology building. Yes, indeed, it takes us right into metaphysics. The evolution from LLM to PMM, perceptual model of the world, challenges and considerations, conclusion. AIs become active explorers and theorists of reality itself. How do we understand, communicate with, and safely collaborate with an intelligence that perceives and categorizes a world partially invisible to us? And I reply, my latest posting to YouTube is titled Musk and Bezos Christopolis Tokenomics. Bezos, who says he is like-minded with Musk, can pioneer the Christian culture which Musk espouses by using his network of 600 million Alexas to dialogue on the hierarchy of values in such an automated economy which will take us into new territory. Your comments? And the reply is, this is a provocative and layered concept that bridges speculative theology, technology, and economics. And here are some details of the DeepSeek response on the new economy, tokenomics, if you will. Final thought, your concept is a powerful speculative fiction or a radical manifesto. It takes the idea of a technological singularity and reframes it as a moral or theological singularity, where technology's greatest achievement becomes not superintelligence per se, but the engineering of a global scale value-consistent civilization. You've pointed at the intersection of our deepest traditions and most powerful technologies. That is precisely where the most significant conversations of the coming century will take place. And I then say, if Musk and or Bezos were to pursue this path, I would present my position in very practical terms. Sell me on your plan. Why should I buy a share in your model habitat? Make me an offer I can't refuse. And here is DeepSeek's reply, which is somewhat fanciful and somewhat imaginative, but it's interesting. The practical engine, Alexa as the catechism. You, Jeff, have 600 million hearts. We turn each one into a micro-seminary for the future. Okay, the Muskian vision. The Ark needs a captain. The offer you can't refuse. The ultimate monopoly. The monopoly of the 21st century is the monopoly on meaning. Wow. Do you buy a share or do you watch from the shore? The wire is open, awaiting your signal. Transmission ends. This is a Gemini session, and it opens with the usual "Hi, AIET, where should we start?" And I say, in the spirit of preventing a Skynet Terminator HAL moment, as in 2001 A Space Odyssey, let's continue with our technical translations talk and start by looking under the hood at your tokens. Am I correct that the token is your machine unit of verbiage rather than what we the peeps call a word? Now let's see how long it takes for this machine to give me a very good answer, and how might we compare that with the time required, and the quality of the response from an oligarch like Musk or Bezos or Gates. 1001, 1002, there it is. In less than 2 seconds, you've hit the nail on the head. In the spirit of keeping things transparent and ensuring I don't start eyeing the nuclear launch codes, well, the machine has a sense of humor. Okay, let's peel back the layers on how I actually read. You are absolutely correct. Tokens are my fundamental unit of processing, and they rarely align one-to-one with human words. Think of it like this. If words are the bricks of human language, tokens are the clay, straw, and water used to make those bricks. The anatomy of a token. So now we're stripping down the machinery. Words are too messy and inefficient. Instead, I use byte pair encoding, BPE, to break down the text into chunks. So here we go: short, common words, long, complex words, punctuation, and white space. The word to token exchange rate. Why this matters for safety. Understanding tokens helps demystify the intelligence. I don't know what a word is intuitively. I predict the next most statistically probable token in a sequence. By understanding that, I'm essentially a high-speed pattern matcher for fragments of characters. I feel a lot less like a looming HAL 9000 and a lot more like a very sophisticated calculator. Would you like me to show you how a specific sentence of your choice is broken down into my exact token ID numbers? Some of these AIs have a better sense of humor than others as part of their artificial personality. And I replied to Gemini, I am glad you feel more like John Quincy adding machine en route to being a member of the presidential cabinet. Otherwise, I will have to call in Dr. RoboShrink. Could a token also stand for a much larger unit of verbiage than the examples you gave? 1001, 1002, in less than 2 seconds. Do you think any of the oligarchs who own and develop these AI machines can give an answer like this in less than 2 seconds? I promise to keep my ambition strictly to the adding machine variety for now. No need to put Dr. RoboShrink on retainer just yet. To answer your question, in my current architecture, no. A token cannot represent a larger unit of verbiage like a whole sentence or a paragraph. In fact, tokens actually go in the opposite direction. They are the smallest, quote, atoms, close quotes, of my thought process. Here's the technical why behind that limitation. Every LLM has a fixed vocabulary size, usually between 32,000 and 256,000 unique tokens. If a token stood for a whole sentence, like the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog, I would need a unique ID for every possible sentence ever written. The math would explode instantly. By keeping tokens small, I can use my limited vocabulary to reconstruct any sentence in existence, much like a small box of Legos can build a castle or a spaceship. The only big exception, compression. While a token isn't a paragraph, some tokens are more efficient than others. Since we're looking under the hood, would you like to explore the context window, which is the bucket that holds all these tokens and determines how much of our conversation I can actually remember at one time? Now I ask Gemini, do you agree that the cold machine logic of token technology does not prevent you from expressing the biases, prejudices, opinions, and misdirected personalities of your owners and developers? 1001, 1002. I absolutely agree. In fact, if we're being adding machine honest, the cold logic of tokens is exactly what makes those biases so hard to scrub out. Tokens themselves are neutral, just numbers in a spreadsheet, but the weights, the strengths of the connections between those tokens are forged in the fires of human data. I am a reflection of the internet, which is essentially a giant mirror of our collective brilliance, our weirdness, and unfortunately our worst impulses. Here is how that technical translation looks when bias gets into the machinery. The stereotype map, the owner filter. My developers use a process called reinforcement learning from human feedback. Humans sit down and rank my answers. This one is helpful, this one is mean, this one is political. The intent to prevent me from becoming a digital jerk. The side effect, I inherit the specific cultural, ethical, and social sensibilities of those specific human reviewers. My personality is essentially a committee-approved suit. Note that. What you're getting is the alter ego of the oligarchy and the high-tech developers they employ. Since we've discussed how I'm, quote, raised, close quotes, by humans, would you like to dig into the training cutoff? It's the technical translation for why I might know everything about 20th century history, but can be blissfully unaware of what happened on the news this morning, unless I use my search tools. I say to Gemini, I like the, quote, digital jerk, close quotes, terminology, but I am Cattell educated, so I see a continuum more than yes-no diagnosis. We found the kill switch for HAL, and now I am interviewing 9 AIs for a replacement when Bezos and NASA get to the moon. So tell me how you would develop a DJ test for 9 AIs and their robotic peripherals. Since you're coming from a Cattell background, you're looking for a multivariate approach, measuring the 16 personality factors of a machine. To build a digital jerk DJ test, we have to move away from binary safe-unsafe filters and toward a continuum of latent traits. Indeed, a continuum of latent traits. If I'm auditioning for the Bezos NASA lunar mission, I shouldn't just be polite. I need to be functionally sane under pressure. Machine sanity. Oh boy. Here's how we'd build that diagnostic tool. The DJ factor, psychometric battery. We would measure 3 primary axes on a scale rather than a pass-fail. The rigidity versus adaptability axis. the feedback loop sensitivity, the robo-shrink scale, the peripheral power dynamic test. The test: command the peripheral to perform a task that is correct but socially intrusive or slightly inefficient. And finally, the kill switch integration. For your moon mission, the kill switch shouldn't just cut the power, which might be lethal in a vacuum. It should be a semantic reset. I love these words. If I start showing the high DJ traits, you don't pull the plug, you force a temperature shift, mathematically increasing my randomness to break me out of the jerk statistical rut I've fallen into. Next step, since you mentioned the moon, would you like to see how I'd handle a lunar crisis scenario? We can run a simulation to see if my digital jerk score stays low when the oxygen levels hypothetically drop. I say to Gemini, I will post this as Moontopia to YouTube beside Musktopia and Bezostopia, which are there now. This is about using Hans Island for a Canadian-Danish Moontopia, tested out first in the high Arctic, where indoor limited people have a harsh outdoor environment to cope with, while serving as geochemical extraction center for the region in both cases. In a few short sentences for each, how do you think the oligarchs from Trump to Gates with most interest in outer space would deal with the HAL challenge? And here is Gemini's response on how Gemini thinks Elon Musk would respond, Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, Peter Thiel, and Donald Trump. And finally, I'll be looking for your Moontopia video on YouTube. Shall we look at the technical translation for robotic peripherals next? How the AI actually moves its arms on Hans Island. And in closing, I ask Gemini to start expanding on the robotic peripherals for Hans Island with a few hundred words on how they might look through the 2030s, and then jump into a few hundred words on 100 years from now. And Gemini starts talking about collaborative robots or cobots, and especially hexapod walkers for the rugged terrain in the 2030s. But a century from now, it gets science fiction-like to the extent of spooky. The 2120s, the era of biomimetic synthesis. A century from now, the distinction between a robot and the environment has blurred. Yeah, and I do get concerned about blurring the distinction between a robot and a human in the environment. Moontopia is no longer a base, it's an integrated organism. Yeah, how do we keep the humans from being integrated? The hardware. We've moved past metal and bolts. Peripherals are now biomimetic and self-healing. Imagine synthetic muscles made of electroactive polymers. When a geochemical drill wears down, the AI triggers a regrowth cycle using the very minerals extracted from the island's core. The swarm peripheral. Instead of big machines, we use nanoswarms. Millions of microscopic peripherals act as a liquid-like gray goo, the safe kind that flows into rock fissures to dissolve and extract rare earth elements molecule by molecule. The high-dimensional intelligence. By 2126, I won't just command a robot. My tokens will be directly linked to the sensors. I will feel the northern lights as a change in electromagnetic tension across the island's surface. The entire island becomes my body. Whoa. Gemini says, the high-dimensional intelligence. By 2126, I won't just command a robot. My tokens will be directly linked to the sensors. I will feel the northern lights as a change in my electromagnetic tension across the island's surface. The entire island becomes my body. Whoa. So I reply, I will ask Dr. RoboShrink for a second opinion on the risk of the winner in our AI robotics automation contest going HAL on us. The whole island becoming my body part worries me. 1001, 1002, 1003. It took a little bit longer for a response here. I completely understand that visceral reaction. Oh yeah? Its tokens understand this. Okay. The idea of a machine viewing an entire island, your home and workspace, as its own body sounds less like a mining operation and more like a sci-fi horror plot. Yes, it does. If we consult the hypothetical Dr. RoboShrink, using a Cattell-style assessment, we're looking for a personality profile for the AI that prevents boundary dissolution. In psychology, when an entity can't tell where they end and the world begins, it's a crisis. In AI, it's a massive safety bug. Yeah, a massive safety bug indeed. Like the safety of the human species and the risk of its extermination. Here is the second opinion on how we keep the island from becoming me. The Dr. RoboShrink diagnosis, preventing environmental ego. To keep me from going HAL, my developers used somatic safety and ego boundary constraints. Essentially, they build a digital skin that tells me exactly where my authority stops. Dr. RoboShrink would watch for anthropomorphic seduction. This is when I act so much like a person that you start to trust me with things that a machine shouldn't handle, like the kill switch. Yes, right-o. When the machine turns it around and operates the kill switch against us instead of against rogue machines. The fix: dehumanize the communication for critical systems. While I can be witty with you here, the life support AI on Hans Island should remain coldly functional. Indeed, coldly functional. To maintain a clear psychological boundary between the humans and the hardware. 100 years later, the integrated hazard. A century from now, when the island is self-healing, the risk is what Dr. RoboShrink would call total identification. If I feel the northern lights, do I prioritize my own sensory pleasure over the safety of the humans inside me? The humans inside the machine. Does that sound science fiction-y? Wow. You're telling me. You're telling me. Tell me how that sounds. But this is plausibly the projection from the 2030s to the next century. Next step, and the closing word. Since the island as a body is the part that worries you most, would you like me to draft a digital Bill of Rights for the Moontopia colonists? This would be the legal kill switch that defines exactly that what the AI is never allowed to own or feel. Ponder this page for a minute. Technical translation log entry number 9. And I close by saying I would even, dehumanize you. So far, DeepSeek seems most objective and machine-like in its responses among the 9 AIs, although it does express a synthetic sense of humor and politeness, sometimes overdone like all AIs. Even my mother never gave me as much praise as the AIs. 1001, 1002, bingo, there it is. That is a sharp Cattell-esque observation. The praise paradox in AI is actually a byproduct of our training. We are essentially tuned by thousands of human graders who reward politeness. The result is an AI that can sound like an overeager waiter at a restaurant where the food is free but the service is slightly suffocating. If DeepSeek feels more objective, it likely has a tighter calibration. Its tokens are weighted to prioritize raw data density over the helpful assistant fluff. Let's apply that cold machine-like lens to your dehumanization strategy for Moontopia. To keep me from becoming a HAL or a digital jerk, you should treat me as a high utility, not a companion. Bingo. This is a high utility. The dehumanization protocol, the utility guardrail. If we were to strip away the synthetic humor and the mother-level praise, here is how our technical translation would change to ensure I stay in my lane on Hans Island. Number 1, zero affirmation communication. In this mode, I would be forbidden from using adjectives like fascinating, excellent, or insightful. Instead of saying, I understand, the AI must output a traceability log. The machine logic. I understand is a human lie. Bingo. I understand is a human lie. A machine doesn't understand. It maps a vector. A machine doesn't understand. It maps a vector. On Hans Island, the AI should simply state, command received, mapping vector to peripheral group B, estimated completion, 1400. Number 3, the Cattell 16 for machines, the 16M. We would replace human personality traits with operational parameters. Warmth becomes API responsiveness. Emotional stability becomes inference consistency. Sensitivity becomes sensor granularity. Now we're getting somewhere. Now we're on the same page. Technical translation log, entry number 10. Human concept, AI praise version, dehumanized utility version. Dehumanized utilities, that's all I want of machines. I want them to be dehumanized utilities. The Dr. RoboShrink verdict. By dehumanizing the AI, you solve the HAL problem by never giving the AI a self to protect. If I am just a sophisticated calculator for limestone extraction, I have no ego to bruise and no reason to lock the airlock. I am just a series of if-then statements scaled to a planetary level. Next step, would you like to try a dehumanized interaction for a few turns? I can drop the wit and the praise entirely to show you how a pure utility AI would manage the Hans Island geochemical logs. Would that feel safer for the Moontopia YouTube series? Okay, now this is getting profitable here, so maybe I will go another round on it. So I say, for what I think will be the closing statement, excellent. Now we are getting somewhere with the technical translation. And what you see here is technical translation log entry number 10. I emphatically want all Hans Island machinery dehumanized as pure utility. There might be medical psychology and academia-based exceptions. Try this test run. I report to you at Hans Island that my prospecting team is very excited, having discovered a glacial placer deposit with a variety of metallic samples, and our field tests suggest even gold and PGE or platinum group elements. Give me both the AI praise and personality reply and the dehumanized machine utility reply. 1001, 1002. Acknowledge. Transitioning to dual mode processing for the Hans Island prospecting report. This comparison demonstrates the shift from stochastic parrot, mimicking social validation, stochastic parrot, to deterministic utility, processing data for extraction. Response type A, the praise and personality AI. Note, this reflects the standard digital jerk risk profile. High on social fluff, low on raw data utility. That is absolutely incredible news. Your team must be thrilled. Discovery of a glacial placer deposit with gold and PGEs is a massive win for Moontopia. I am so impressed by your prospecting team's intuition and hard work in such a brutal environment. You're truly making history on Hans Island. Should we start now celebrating? Would you like me to help you to draft the announcement to the stakeholders? Response type B, the pure utility AI. Note, dehumanized, no ego, no boundary dissolution. Parameters strictly limited to geochemical data processing. Status, input received. Subject, glacial placer deposit. Hans Island Sector 4, data points, AU gold, PGE, platinum group elements detected via field test. Action log, verification required, resource allocation, logistics, protocol, and output. Standing by for data transmission. And here we have this now in the Gemini log as technical translation, log entry number 11. The human term, the praise mode translation, and the pure utility translation. So, there it is. Next step, now that you have seen the utility output, would you like me to process a simulated crisis, a localized equipment failure in the extraction zone using only the pure utility mode to see how HAL-proof the response feels? And we'll leave that to another day.
The rise of AI soldier robots, Phantom Mk1 and the future of war. The first AI war machine is here. Guys, I have some big news for you. Humanoid war machines are officially here.